I'm Savannah Robinson, a reporter for Youth Radio. I'm also a young performing artist. With me today is Jane Chu, Chairman for the National Endowment for the Arts. The NEA is a longtime supporter of Youth Radio. Thank you so much for being here today with us, Ms. Chu.
Thanks for letting me join you.
So I'm just gonna get right into the questions. So you were a young artist yourself. Could you explain some of the kinds of resources that you think young people need to have in their community in order to pursue their artistic passions?
Well, number one is to have that passion, because make sure that you recognize within yourself that wonderful passion and feeling and dedication and energy that you get from getting to create. So that's first and foremost. And as you recognize that, you start seeing around you things that you like the most, and that's different for everybody. So that's what draws you to different resources. So then you'll be connected to the right resources, because you'll know which ones match up with you.
Mm. One of the resources that a lot of artists use today is the internet. And the internet has obviously changed how artists can make and distribute their work as well as fundraise. So what are your thoughts on some fundraising platforms like Kickstarter and whether they can be beneficial to artists?
Well, I think that Kickstarter's done a great job, and other crowdsourcing fundraising opportunities like that. In fact, they've done a great job, and the National Endowment for the Arts even called in the founder of Kickstarter just to thank him for what he's been doing. So there are different types of funding related for the arts, and Kickstarter's a really fun way because people get to vote on projects, and you really get to see some of the creativity that's going on. We love that idea because we love anybody who supports the arts. But the National Endowment for the Arts thinks about having all Americans benefit from and engage with the arts. So it brings in all America, and making sure that there are all kinds of arts programs and opportunities across the nation.
So you've been involved with downtown revitalization. I know that you were a major part of the creation of the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts in Kansas City. That must have been an amazing experience. Could you describe some of the ways in which organizations like these could strengthen communities, especially, in communities like Oakland?
What you're doing is so wonderful for the whole community, and certainly it benefits the people who are participating in the program, the youth and the teachers, but think about all the vitality and the energy that you're bringing to the community. That's one of the things we experienced when I was in Kansas City. We called it the front porch effect, because think about it, if you're in a neighborhood and somebody sweeps the front porch and you go, oh, they're sweeping their front porch, I want to go sweep mine too. And so pretty soon everybody is sprucing up the place. So think about youth radio. It's vibrant in its activity, and youth are getting to learn things skills that will carry with them forever, and they'll lead them to jobs and also sharing their own creativity elsewhere. And that kind of creativity is addictive, and it spreads throughout the community, and people say, well, they're doing that over at Youth Radio, I think I'll spruce up my area as well. And pretty soon the whole city is vibrant and doing lots of activity, and at the heart of it is creativity. So Youth Radio is playing a very important part in keeping the vibrancy of the whole community.
So this year the NEA is celebrating its 50th anniversary. What are some of the things that young people should know about the NEA?
Well, the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, is the only funder in the nation that thinks about the entire nation, that all Americans should have the opportunity to benefit from and be engaged with the arts. There are all kinds of wonderful funders in the arts, and we love and celebrate all of them, including Kickstarter, as you talked about, and some of the great foundations here in California and other businesses and corporations. But the NEA is the only one who thinks about the whole nation at the same time, and that is something we want to celebrate in its 50 years. So we'll look back at the first 50 years of the arts through the National Endowment for the Arts and some of the activities that it helped start, from dance across the nation. We started a number of initiatives and projects that are still functioning today. From Sundance Film Festival and the American Film Institute to Prairie Home Companion on Minnesota Public Radio and many others. But the thing we want to celebrate, and that's why youth radio has such a great connection to what we're believing, is that we want to look at the next 50 years. What did the arts look like over the next 50 years? And the youth and the next generations who will be creating and celebrating the arts, just like youth radio is doing, will be at the heart of what we'll want to celebrate.
What are some of the main things that you want to achieve in the future and in this role at the NEA?
Well, I want to make sure that, and this is at the very essence of what I'd like to do, is I want to make sure that we all understand that the arts are part of our everyday lives. And the arts aren't off in some corner by themselves, and they don't just belong to one group of people, and they're not just an elitist thing for people to participate, but not other people getting to. The arts are part of all of our lives, and they touch us in so many different ways. And if we can celebrate that and get away from that mindset that just says the arts don't belong to me, but they only belong to them, whatever that means, that is the huge piece of success. And so we'll do that through our grant programs, and we'll do that for celebrations, initiatives like we just launched with the National Park Service to create $1 million of funding to connect the arts with the National Park system. And we'll do that through creating initiatives related to what the studios of the future look like. Think about the way youth radio youth get to create things. They get to sit in a room together and learn from each other and bounce off ideas with each other. That's not the old way of looking at a studio. The old studio was where artists were by themselves and nobody else was around. And now you get to bounce off ideas with each other and create, and you learn from each other. And that's the studio of the future. So we'll be celebrating the studio of the future in the initiatives that we launch.
So recently the NEA released some reports from 2012 that revealed some of the impacts that the arts have on Americans and how Americans become involved in arts. I was wondering what some of the innovative ways that the NEA kind of has to cater to this diverse group of people.
Well, we loved these research reports that we just released, because what it told us is that, just like we talked about before, we don't want people to think that the arts are only one type of program and there's nothing else for them, because the arts belong to all of us. But these research reports tell this with really hard evidence that the arts are very important. They're important to California, they're important to the nation. And one of those three reports tells us that the arts and culture sector represents $689 billion worth of the contributions to the whole United States income. That is a very big amount, and it says that the arts are formidable and they really have a strong presence. And another report tells us that the ways people participate in the arts are really expanding. So it used to be that we would look at measuring attendance at a performing arts event, and that's very important still, and we still celebrate those ways. But think about the ways you create videos and pass digital art to each other and bounce off those ideas together. And there's all kinds of electronic media, and 3/4 of all American adults, that's 167 million adults, participate in the arts by viewing through digital media. And so we need to make sure we are recognizing that and honoring it. And certainly youth radio is doing that as well. So those reports give us hard evidence that that is what's happening in America, and we better celebrate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ms. Chu, again so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Jane Chu is the new chair for the National Endowment of the Arts. Thank you, Ms. Chu.
Thank you for letting me join you.